She was already shouting before I opened the door. "You better give my son that motorcycle, or I'm calling the police." I hadn't even had my coffee yet. There she stood, Karen from the HOA, with her teenage son puffing his chest beside her, pointing at my Harley like he already owned it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This woman, who lived 2 houses down, thought it was acceptable to storm up to my porch and demand I hand over my Harley Davidson to her kid. And the worst part, she actually meant it. "Excuse me?" I asked, half laughing, half stunned. "My son saw your motorcycle yesterday," she snapped. "He's turning 17. It would be the perfect gift. And since you clearly don't ride it that often, I figured you could just let it go." I stood there in shock. This wasn't a joke. She really believed that because her entitled teenager liked my Harley, I should just give it up. This wasn't just any bike. It was a custom-built fat boy I'd worked on myself over 2 years. It had sentimental value. It was mine. And no way in hell was I handing it over to some spoiled kid who probably couldn't even start it without dropping it on the pavement. "Look," I said, trying to keep it civil. "That bike's not for sale." "Not even close." Karen narrowed her eyes. "So you're refusing to cooperate with the HOA? Wait, what? What does the HOA have to do with my Harley?" He smirked. "Everything. That garage of yours faces the street, and the bike is visible. That's a violation. You're not allowed to store non-essential vehicles in public view. Either give it to us or I'm reporting you for a code violation. Your choice." At this point, I could feel my blood pressure spiking. But here's where it got crazy. I wasn't just some average guy. I work in law enforcement. More specifically, as a legal liaison for the state attorney's office. And at that very moment, I was due to brief the state attorney via Zoom in less than 20 minutes. So I calmly shut the door in Karen's face and went to my home office to start the call. Not 10 minutes into the meeting, while I was screen-sharing legal documents and discussing an upcoming case, I heard sirens outside, then pounding on the door. I muted my mic and opened it. 2 uniformed officers stood there. "Sir, we received a call about a stolen motorcycle and a possible code violation." "You've got to be kidding me." Behind the cops, Karen stood with a smug expression on her face, arms folded like she'd already won. Her son was recording the entire thing on his phone, hoping for a viral moment. I introduced myself, showed the officers my credentials, and politely asked if they could step aside so I could finish my call with the state attorney of Florida. One of the officers blinked. "Wait, you're..." "Yep," I interrupted. "And you just walked into the middle of a state-level legal briefing because someone wants to illegally seize private property through an HOA complaint." They backed up quickly, now realizing this was no ordinary neighborhood squabble. I apologized for the interruption to the attorney, finished the meeting, then came outside to deal with Karen. "Listen," I said, now fully done with her nonsense. "You've just falsely reported a theft, interfered with state business, and harassed me on private property. That's 3 crimes before breakfast." She scoffed. "You can't talk to me like that. I run this neighborhood." I walked over to my garage, opened it, and rolled out the Harley just enough for everyone to see. It was spotless, pristine, and registered to me, with documents taped inside the windshield. I looked straight at her son. "You can't handle this bike, kid. You can barely handle your own entitlement." That's when I decided I was done playing defense. I called the HOA office directly and requested a review of the neighborhood covenants. Turns out, Karen had been abusing her role on the HOA board for years, harassing neighbors, manipulating rules, and pocketing HOA funds for landscaping that never happened. I filed a formal complaint with documented video, audio, and emails. The next week, the HOA board held a special meeting. I didn't have to attend. The evidence spoke for itself. Karen was removed from her position. But it didn't end there. See, Karen had called the police under false pretenses. She had claimed my Harley was stolen, and that I'd threatened her son. All of it was recorded, by her son's own video, which the officers confiscated when I filed a counterclaim. She ended up being charged with filing a false police report and misuse of 911 services. Her son, community service, and a suspended license after his social media showed him doing donuts in a neighbor's yard 2 weeks prior. The HOA, now under new leadership, sent me a written apology and confirmed my Harley was perfectly fine to keep in view. They even waived my annual dues for the next 2 years. Karen, on the other hand, moved out 3 months later. Rumor has it she's trying to get into another gated community. But nobody wants to deal with her. I still ride that Harley every Saturday, engine rumbling proudly down the street. And every time I pass her old house, I smile a little. Not out of spite, but satisfaction. Because sometimes the quiet neighbor with the garage door open isn't just fixing a bike. Sometimes he's briefing the state attorney and making sure people like Karen finally get held accountable. And if you're wondering what happened to the kid, well, last I heard, he was grounded indefinitely and had to get a part-time job at a mechanic shop. Irony, right? So what's the moral? Don't assume someone's silence means weakness. Don't assume someone's kindness means submission. And definitely, don't send the cops after someone who works with them daily while they're briefing the state attorney. That's not just rude. That's reckless. If you enjoyed this story and want more insane HOA drama, petty revenge tales, and real-life justice moments that will blow your mind, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.